Welcome, ZxStim. Thank you for joining us to our Athena closing ceremony for Value Share as our guest. So first thing first, could you introduce yourself and what you do in the industry?
For sure, yeah. Thanks, Rhea, for the invitations. So I'm currently at DevRel Bifrost, and what we do Bifrost is a liquid staking protocol. So as DevRel, I'm working with a lot of developers right now to help them to start using the Bifrost protocol to start getting, they can make some money as one of our revenue sharing partner. The other one is just help them to build their business on chain because I
Right.
really much believe is 2025 is a year that we can start taking a lot of business on chain. Very different.
Right. Right, I see. And then this closing ceremony, it's to talk more about open source this side of thing. As AthenaX, we are building open source project. What do you think about just in the industry as a dev route for a dev to learn about open source? What's your advice?
As I've been in this crypto space for a long time, and I believe open source is vital, and it has been like a fundamental culture. And I think open source doesn't, because there's a lot of developers they have these misconceptions that
Yeah.
open source they will lose revenue, people will copy their ideas and that kind of stuff. But you look at it, like open source actually allow people to start building on top of one another. There's so many programming languages, most programming languages right now, frameworks, things you use to build as developers, they open source because they want you to build on top of this. And we see successful protocols that are also open source, like Uniswap, Aave, Lido, on their own open source. Of course, there are exceptions like Hyperliquid. Those ones, there are exceptions like a lot of protocols, Solana. But if you're building on Ethereum ecosystem, open source is a superpower. It's a superpower because you gain the trust of the community.
Yeah.
You gain the trust of people that validate you. You gain the trust of all of the power user like myself and a lot of others that review your protocols, and we see the transparency, and we will be happy to support you, not just as a user but also as a evangelist. We would tell
Right.
everyone about your protocol, and just I'm like an unofficial, unpaid Uniswap ambassador for years since they give me an airdrop. They give me an airdrop, and just because I love Uniswap protocol too much, like a lot, so I just keep telling them, LP, list your token here. Don't go to like a central exchange, all that stuff. It is like a superpower. That's what I think.
Yes, definitely. That's also one of the reasons why Athena we are dedicated for open source. And then for moving forward, right? So what do you suggest what developers, all those developers in the industry, what they should build next? What's the focus you would suggest as you are in the business for so long?
Oh, for sure. I think currently in the crypto industry we have a very robust infra, and if you see recently the crash on October 10th, you can see the crash, and you see DeFi, all these DeFi protocol is still working fine. The L2 are still working fine. Everything. So the infra has been extremely robust. That
Right.
means right now there's a huge opportunities on the application layer. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Means I think there's all these protocols like Uniswap. Think about them as like APIs. Like on AI right now, people are using like OpenAI, people are
Mhm.
using Perplexity, Anthropic, Cloud, on these APIs for them to build applications. Right? So if you think of that way, you get a lot of developers can start out in the crypto industry as application developer, but they just need to build a front end. They can
Mm.
leverage the existing quote unquote API, fundamentally just protocols that exist on the DeFi, and very highly secure, tons of TVL, and they can start building front ends that interact with these protocol and start onboarding user. And they can start going through multiple different directions. They can go like power user mode, which is like super advanced with a lot of tools, or they go for like user friendly mode where they just have a lot simple interface that help
Yeah.
user to improve from normal person to like an advanced user, right? So there's a lot of there's a lot of play in that, and I think like the industry is realizing this, and which is why you start seeing a lot more apps recently, like from consumer apps to just things that interact with existing protocols.
Yeah, so the really good point. Thank you for the value share. Are you building something right now, like on the application layer, like as like a something that you interested in recently? What kind of new application you're looking forward like can leverage your skills and you think that
Oh
would
yeah.
be good?
So at Bifrost, we are looking to launch this new small test concept called Premier, and the idea is I want to see a lot more funding going towards like open source projects or just fundings, right? But then fundraising is like this hit and miss, and there's a lot of different aspect of fundraising. But then the way we think is we think we can use liquid staking tokens to dedicate the yield. You look at Sing token, they have the yield baked into the tokens. So you can delegate that yield to the projects you want to support. So then basically you have this concept of like fund, like no loss fundraising, because the investor will always keep the principal. For example, if I want to invest like 2 ETH, I will keep
Yeah.
my 2 ETH. I keep my exposure to Ethereum, but then I delegate my yield, like my liquid staking yield, which is can be 3%, 4% to the projects. And if it's like a small scale projects that could be like an open source tool or like a project with a small team, I think
Yeah.
that is something that could be very sustainable long term, because there people the user can stake, put their ETH in and just crowdsource like a small amount of money to kind of pay off the operational expenses for these teams, right? And because their principals still have full exposure to the ecosystem, it's still good. And imagine you can make it composable and all kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of unlock that DeFi can do on that vertical.
Right, I see. I remember you guys are doing some staking, like a new innovation with which project? If you reminds me again, is it Polkadot or?
For Bifrost, we are on a lot of chains. We not just on Polkadot. Currently, we have our liquid staking token on Ethereum as well. We have VETH
Yeah.
and VDOT. The idea of Bifrost is like a unified liquid staking protocol. So then, regardless of the ecosystem that we run the liquid staking, we still manage to unify the interfaces, make very easy interface for developers to work with. It's sort of like one-stop shop for like a bunch of liquid staking tokens from a bunch of ecosystem if you want to spread the risk on multiple ecosystem.
I see. Okay. Thank you, Stim. It's a valuable time and for the knowledge sharing. I'll see you again next time.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good day.